Hello, and welcome to episode 42 of Chapter 1. We're already off topic. 3 women, 1 podcast. And this may come as a shock to some of you, but we all have ADHD, which sort of explains everything. I'm Mary.
Catherine.
I'm Elizabeth.
And this week we are covering chapters 31 through 45 of The Night Prince and digging up all the clues and Easter eggs that we missed in our first reading. But first, what are we having?
So we're having just chocolate chip cookies, and I didn't have any clean spatulas, so they came off of the pan a little.
They're fine.
Weird. And then
And
we're
I'm
having,
peach tea.
and I'm having raspberry. We're doing some of our little cold brew things.
Southern breeze.
They're pre-sweetened and they're so good.
0 calories.
Yeah, it's just like
It's perfect.
yeah, and it's good because
And it's fast.
Yeah, and it's hot as crap outside, so it works out. All right, what you got, girl?
I'm doing a vanilla almond black tea.
Ooh,
And
that's
so remember when we went to Target and we were like
The cookies.
shopping for your sister-in-law's birthday present? And we were like, how does she feel about twine on a stick? So, and we got the cookies and they were so good.
I haven't gotten to tell her about that yet.
Did she get her present?
She did, but her grandma passed away on her birthday. Yeah, so it's been kind of. So wait, so
That's
you
a
went
bummer.
back to Target and got those?
No, actually, so Walmart also has them. We got back from our vacation and needed to put some groceries in the fridge. And I was like kind of hungry. Don't grocery shop while you're hungry because you just grab everything you shouldn't. And I was like, look, they've got the cookies. So I got them. They're like those Oreo, whatever. They're almost like a sugar cookie, but they're like Oreo sugar cookie because they're like chocolate on the bottom.
They're like
with,
the Loft House cookies.
yeah, they're real good.
But like Oreo version.
But yeah, I haven't baked because we got in yesterday. I had to unpack everything. I have so much laundry to do. And then, yeah.
I get it. I almost didn't. I had 45 minutes until she was supposed to get here to bake something. And I was looking through my Pinterest board and I was like, man, pie sounds good. And James was like, in no universe can you bake a pie in 45 minutes. And I was just
No.
like,
It took me all day to make that peach pie.
I was like, right. But do you remember when I made that blueberry pie? Do you remember how long it took? And he was just like, move on. Make something different.
He said move on.
Because like that, I was like, I have blueberries. And I was going to make a strawberry cobbler, but then that was going to take like an hour. And I was like, I don't have an hour. I mean, I probably could have done an hour, but they would have been like,
You can't go wrong with chocolate chip cookies. It's classic.
yeah. And it was fine.
You seem unimpressed. You're like, yeah,
I
whatever.
mean, I make good chocolate chip cookies. I'm happy with my cookies. I just, not a wow dessert this week, just to.
That's okay. I got a grocery store dessert, so it is what it is.
I also have a
There's
backup.
nothing wrong with a grocery store dessert.
There is
I've been
nothing
on a
wrong,
strawberry.
Elizabeth, with a grocery store dessert. We love a grocery store dessert.
I've been on a strawberry vanilla Olipop kick too, so I have that in case I decide I want that. I can only buy a few at a time because they're so expensive, and so I hoard them like a little dragon. And then it's like I break it out when I feel like I really need it, Anyway,
You sound like an ex-smoker. You're like, I only do it when I really need one.
I just need to take the edge off.
Except you're over here with your Olipop, like.
Yeah. We brought some to the lake with us, and we had like a Sam's Club thing of, and I feel like I was like the only one that drank them. Maybe a couple other people did, but they were very good. Anyway, the raspberry sherbet is not bad. James doesn't like it. I think it's tasty. Anyway, sorry, Night Prince.
Okay. So
It has been a Tuesday of a Tuesday.
it's a Wednesday.
We do our podcast on Wednesdays.
It is a Wednesday.
My point stands. God. All right. Anyway.
All right. So last week we ended right after James had Aurora kidnapped, and then like Callum and Blake came to rescue her, and then James made Blake kiss Aurora, and then all hell breaks loose, and Alexander arrives, and he's like this weird Timu villain, and he's like, I've been looking for you. And so, that's where we ended. And so, diving back, we go into chapter 31, and Blake is trying to get Aurora out, but he's been shot, several times, and those bullets were coated in wolfsbane. So, our boy is struggling. So Aurora
Yeah.
kind of ends up rescuing him. She's like, I'll just drag your butt to the horse. I'm like, look at you, girl boss.
Realistically, granted, I know these people got like some more strength, I guess, but
Yeah, because she's like Wolfie right now. Ish.
she's wolfy. Yeah.
She hasn't shifted, but it's in there.
But if James had to depend on me to drag him to safety,
You're like, not happening.
oh no. I'd give it the old college try, but
You'd be like, so I'm just going to leave you here.
you would want me to survive, right?
You know, I'm really starting to feel like every man for himself. You know?
I believe in you.
I would just look at him and be like, if a quadruple amputee can drive a car, murder his friend, and also be the cornhole national champion, like, you could get up and walk.
It's a mouthful. I don't know. She had James Flabbers gasted when she
That's
was
right.
showing him that. He was like, how does he pull the
I
trigger?
was like, that's what it does.
I'm still just shocked I can be a cornhole champion. Didn't know that could be on my resume.
I don't think it would ever be me. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not very good at that game. Sometimes I'll randomly I'll pull out the W, but it's not a regular thing.
It's me
I
with
get
pool.
better the drunker I get.
That's definitely me with pool.
I think that I've heard that that's a drunk person's game.
I feel like, as is most things with drinking, there's like a line. There's like the line where you get really good at something. Like you're just drunk enough you don't give a shit anymore and you get real good at it real fast. And then there's like a line you cross and then it's like, where's my ball?
It's a fine line.
Yeah, it is. It's like one tequila shot over, you know. So Aurora's over here saving not her man, the other man. And meanwhile, every time Alexander opens his mouth, we are just like getting the ick. And normally I love the endearment of love. Like when someone's like, call someone love, you know, it's a little British. It's an elevated like darling or sweetheart. It's very classy. You know, he is ruining it for me.
Alexander, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he's using a British accent, though.
Yeah. He's probably saying it in some kind of
It sounds like a jerk. Like he's just a jerk
yeah.
voice.
Like the dude from Apex, maybe.
Yeah.
If he...
So Blake and Aurora manage to get on a horse and gallop away. And they're chased and quickly cornered by Alexander in a graveyard, but they're near a chapel. And Alexander mentions to Blake he misses the times that they had and his screams. And I'm going to be honest, I'm like, Aurora, how are you still not picking up that Blake is not the one doing the experiments on wolves? And like, he is the experimentee.
Vessel.
Yes. So all along, you know, she's been thinking Blake's this awful guy doing all these experiments on these wolves, reading these books, and she's just not putting two and two together. And so we're getting a lot of subtle hints throughout this that Blake is not the one doing it and he's been the victim. But this is kind of the first big one I feel like that's been pretty blatant for us as the reader, that it's like, hey, Blake is the victim here.
I mean, even beyond that, like, I think, granted, it's always easier from the reader standpoint, I guess, than, like, you know, the character. But I'm like, does he really give Frankenstein vibes? Like, not really. I mean, maybe a little.
I guess she's just letting her prejudices, like, color her thinking. She's already made up her mind about him. And so she just sees him in the
It's
worst
very
possible
Pride and
light.
Prejudice. He's very Mr. Darcy.
That's what I'm saying. The best stories are.
We
So,
do love Darcy.
Alexander does kind of make it kind of sound like in that chapter that he wants to do the same things to Aurora because he's talking about like getting Aurora back to Grey Keep and the things he has planned for her, which I don't know, to me is alluding to like he wants to do some weird, you know, play doctor stuff with her. So, I don't know. But Alexander tells him he's sending someone to visit them, an old friend that he wants Aurora to meet. And it's like real cryptic. So both times when I read it, I was like, who's he talking about?
Is it the brother?
It's not the brother. It's Kai. Yeah. I thought the same thing when I was rereading. I was like, oh, is it the brother? I'm
brother
like,
that you forgot about?
you can tell how much I remembered of my first read. I was like, who is it?
We felt so bad. We're just trying to insert it where we can.
This just goes to show how much we vibe read, that we've already read this, and we're like, what's going
Who
to
is
happen?
it? I'm like on the edge of my seat. I'm like, who's it gonna be?
I know
It's
I'm
me.
like,
It's me. I make fun of my husband because he reads so much historical fiction. And not even historical fiction. He'll read like historical nonfiction. And he'll read the same war. Like multiple books on the same war just by like different people from different perspectives or whatever. And I'm like, are you on the edge of your seat wondering what happens? Like who wins? I'm like you don't already know? And he's like, well, it's really good.
Mouthful of cookies. But yes, 100%.
But that's me in this book. Just like what happens next?
Mm-hmm.
So they end up kind of like approaching the chapel, and Alexander kind of like bails at that point. He does mention before he leaves, though, about Aurora fulfilling a purpose or fulfilling her purpose. And I'm not sure what to read into that. I'm like, does Alexander know more than we think he knows? Okay, so we know because we've read this book. And so we know at the end, we know that Aurora is the heart of the moon. Spoiler for those who have not finished it yet, but you're about, like, if you're tuning in, you're finishing eventually. So,
I feel like if you know the upcoming title.
so like, I'm kind of wondering how, like, the more I like got into these chapters, the more I'm wondering how many people suspect that Aurora is the heart of the moon this whole time.
I mean, I thought I kind of sensed the heart of the moon wasn't an object by the end of the first book. I mean, you know, when they like it's her.
Well, like the whole situation with like the wolf thing, like when technically that wasn't even the heart of the moon.
Yeah.
Like we don't
And we
think
know
that maybe
she's a
she
wolf.
could have. Yeah.
We knew, especially with her. You're from up north. Well, my mother, like, we knew.
And she's got the hair.
If it's the formula.
Yeah. So in chapter 32, inside the chapel, Aurora asks Blake how he found her, and he admits to using Magnus as a spy, which of course he isn't thrilled about because Magnus sort of super sucks, right? And Aurora ends up treating his wounds and uses like an antidote to help with the wolfsbane, but that ends up triggering Blake's wolf, which is then like wanting, you get like this like kind of flashback almost to book 1 where he told, you know, like where he gets like wolfy eyes and he tells her to run and then he chases her down. And so she's getting very much that from him, and she is like, knock it off. She's giving like, bad dog, stop it. And she's able to shove him through the bond and get him to like kind of get control of himself, which is the first time she's ever been able to do that through the bond. And then Duncan storms in and he has a message from the king, and Blake kind of jumps up with his sword to protect both of them. And Duncan clarifies the new king, because Callum is now king, and that they are to join him immediately and meet with him and Lachlan. So then in chapter 33, on the horse ride to meet with Callum, Aurora interrogates Blake about how he knows Alexander, which he says is from his time being imprisoned for being a wolf with, you know, like at her father's palace. And she asks how he knew that he wouldn't follow them into the chapel. And while Aurora guesses that Alexander follows the god of night, Blake says that he actually tried to trick the god to give him power, and now is afraid of him, you know, because he's afraid he's going to retaliate, and he wouldn't dare set foot anywhere that brings them closer to the gods like a chapel would. So he knew that they would probably be safe in there. So Duncan informs them Callum and Lachlan freed Alexander's prisoner, and they're worried it's a trap as they approach the castle, because they're like, okay, this is who Alexander was referring to as he left something for them. And at the castle, everyone is whispering about Callum being the new king. They run into our favorite cook, Mrs. McDonald, in the courtyard, who teases Aurora about being a bad cook, making sense since now it's revealed that she's royalty, because in book 1, no one really knew that about her, but now everybody does. So, and she treats Blake with a familiarity of someone who kind of knew him for a really long time, like even maybe as a child, because she's like cleaning his cheek off with like a wet thumb and offering to make his favorite soup, which is obviously making Blake kind of like a little uncomfortable. And it was funny to see him that way, where he's just like, but he explains to Aurora that Mrs. McDonald is actually originally from Lowfell. And while people from Lowfell, there was like different opinions of Blake taking over there. Some people didn't like him for that, but Mrs. McDonald was one of the ones who was actually pretty happy that her husband got killed in that whole ordeal and really likes Blake. So Fiona has been freed during all of this that has happened, and Blake is requested in the infirmary for their other prisoner that they have, which is Kai. And when they arrive, Callum looks at the two of them like they're enemies, that she looks at Blake and Aurora like they're enemies, which irritates Aurora because she's like, I was kidnapped and you forced me to kiss Blake. Like, none of this is her fault at all. Fair. Or her choice. And she's like, what the hell? So in chapter 34, Kai has been tortured and branded with Knight's Mark. And Blake tells the room that Alexander followed them and was eager to get his hands on Aurora, and that he was had told them that he was sending someone, and hints that Kai has been this, is obviously this person, and he's probably a trap, and he needs to be killed, which Lachlan's like, absolutely not, because Lachlan is in love with Kai. So the temperature in that room suddenly like drops, and Kai opens his eyes, which are now completely black, and says, quote, "I know your scent, the light and the dark. She always liked a good joke." And then Blake pushes Aurora aside, grabbing Kai by the throat. But Kai continues saying, "He's looking for you." And before he can answer, Kai ends up coming back to himself and is clearly very confused and scared and like doesn't know what's happening. So I'm assuming he's talking about Aurora being possibly the Heart of the Moon, and that the god of the night is looking for her, because the Heart of the Moon is what's supposed to release him from prison, right? I don't want to know what the light and the dark means. It's the dark? Is he talking to both of them? Is he talking to Blake too? Because she always sees Blake in shadow.
Maybe
like his end of the bond.
They together are the ones that have to do it.
No. I know your scent, the light and the dark. She always liked a good joke. So if she's the light and he's the dark, I never put that together.
I did not.
Okay.
I think it's both of them.
That would make sense.
Yeah, I agree to that.
So
it also makes me wonder how,
especially with the way Blake reacts.
But that means something even bigger is at play than what I originally thought. Because the whole time it's like, oh, she's the Heart of the Moon.
Because Blake thought he was talking to him too. Like he's looking for you. That's why Blake squeezes. He's like, who? So I feel like Blake knows a little more. Yeah.
Blake always knows more. Blake knows so much.
Like, she's looking for me.
I'm gonna need Lauren after she gets done taking her time finishing The Wolf Queen. I'm gonna need possibly a little novella from Blake's point of view.
I do feel like that would be very interesting.
Especially through all of this. He's such a mystery.
He is.
Yeah. Or even, it doesn't have to be a novella. It could be like just some bonus chapters, just a few little sprinkles.
Something.
Some Blake sprinkles.
Because, like, man, the thought process,
I can't wait to see where she goes with
I was winging it.
Yeah, like he doesn't know anything, actually.
Like, I really didn't know anything. I was winging it.
He's just like... He's like, wow, this really worked out in my favor.
And then, like, anytime, like, he acts like he knew, it's like, literally, he's just acting. He's like, yeah, obviously.
I meant for it to go that way. Totally.
That's just how powerful I am.
Like, maybe Aurora is giving him way too much credit.
Master manipulator.
Like, her mind, she's like, oh, he knows all this stuff. And he's like, nah, I'm just winging it.
Worked out very fortuitously.
All I can think of is him in one of those previous chapters where he's like, where are the lobsters?
He sounded so disappointed.
Well, I mean, if you compare it to what he was eating after he bought all those lobsters, I would be a little disappointed too. I mean, like, what are we doing here?
So once himself, hang on, that doesn't make sense. What did I write?
No.
Should be about to hit 35.
Yeah. So Kai tells him how he was caged and tortured. It does. I didn't put a comma. It does make sense. So once himself, Kai then is able to tell them about how he was caged and tortured by Alexander in the Grey Keep. And then he was given to it, but only describes it as some weird dark beast, rumored to be one of Knight's prisoners, that Alexander told him he was breaking him in for a special occasion, or like a special guest. And Kai also tells him that he was to deliver a message, and that the Wolf King is to prepare for a war unlike any ever seen, or he can send a gift and the attack will be called off. And of course that gift is Aurora. So I put it
I would highly doubt him be like, what's the gift? And him be like, a gravy boat. Like...
scented candles.
A pot of tea.
Yeah. Like, I just love, like, the you. Like, who'd you think it was going to be?
Like, what did you think it was going to be? Yeah. He's like, I would like a peach pie with a side.
$1 million. They're making another Austin Powers. Did y'all see that?
Yes.
No, I didn't see that. I did see the Wolf King has gotten picked up. So
I don't know when that's going to happen, but I need it to happen tomorrow.
I know. I'm so excited for it. This whole
There's
series.
a lot. I mean, Dungeon Crawler Carl got picked up.
I think they're quickly realizing that Hollywood's struggling to come up with original ideas, and books are doing really...
Books are amazing right now.
Honestly,
Hollywood
fine by
is
me,
just...
because I want to see... there's so many that I'd love to see played out. Like,
there are. I just also worry about them ruining them.
That's fair, but sometimes they can do it so bad that it becomes a different kind of classic.
That's true.
Like,
yeah.
It's so funny because
some I feel like are better than the book. I love Practical Magic the movie, and I did not love Practical
You know,
Magic
I
the
have
book.
not read Practical Magic the book, but I have seen a lot of
It
reviews
drags.
where
It drags.
the book does not get
It is
Her
not-
writing
does not
style
have
is
nearly-
very, very different, and it's just, I know some people love the book. I did not vibe with the book. Also, the characters are very different than in the movie. Very different. Like, the whole
And
vibe
Princess
of the book
Bride,
is very
right?
different.
They're not as likable.
Princess Bride
They're
was
not
another-
likable at all. Everybody's terrible. Like, everybody. The kids are terrible.
Everybody sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, the aunts are awful. Like, nobody's a good
Then there's
aunt.
a
They're just-
brother that you never hear anything about. There's a brother. And they talk about him in Rules of Magic, which I read. It took me about 5 years to read that.
It took me forever to read Practical Magic. I mean, just like a long time.
I just
kept
remember when
setting it
y'all
down.
did Princess Bride. I didn't read it. I've seen the movie, and I was just like, I love the movie. But I heard the book was.
I really need to read it. I have The Last Unicorn, and I really need to read it because that was one of my favorite movies of all time growing up. And I still every once in a while rewatch it. My husband, who's never really seen it, one day walked in on me watching it. And it's very almost like 70s trippy, the music and the animation. And he's like, what are you watching? And I was like, it's The Last Unicorn.
It's The Last Unicorn.
I had the poster on my wall like as a child. I love that movie. It's so good. I will say it was one of those things though that I was disappointed in the ending, even though it was still my favorite of all time. But I really wanted her to stay human and be a princess. But it made sense for her to go back to being a unicorn with all her unicorn friends. But she had found love, and I was sad. And she was so pretty.
She was a really pretty unicorn.
Sorry, I forgot to send my husband our grocery list. Well, sorry, it's not a grocery list. We've already gotten groceries, but it's like the groceries that you didn't get that you forgot about.
That list.
That list.
I know that list well.
I also know that
Magnesium
was
citrate for me because I've been having some restless leg and it's getting on. I go to lay on the couch and I'm like, why are my legs twitching? I don't care for it. Then I go and lay in bed and I'm like, but I want to watch TV. So just doom scroll for forever.
Is that
So-
when I get all of the reels?
Probably.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Like every
So
reel you've
cool.
ever watched?
Yeah, I actually did look through them today and I was like, oh wow, I have sent a lot. But you know what? At least you know I'm alive and kicking. You know? Like, because my texts aren't really working right now.
Your texts aren't going through, so it's like a way of communicating. I'm like,
So
well,
it's like, I'm here.
You don't have space on your phone because of all the reels. Did I just see 184? Oh no, that's your phone. Your oh gosh, show her. Show her the little 184. It's right there. What is
Oh,
that?
I don't know. I don't know what that is. It's for like my calls.
I'm like,
84
what?
missed calls.
Is that what it is? Can I just delete all these?
I have Android.
How do you delete them? Oh, edit? No. Select. Can I
What are you
select all
doing?
of them? I would like to select them all, please.
No, just go to recents.
Hit that.
See?
Oh.
Do I have to manually click all of them?
No.
No. Go to phone and then like here. Hang on.
Select.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it should be an option for select all.
Do you see that?
Just go to here. Okay.
Okay.
And then
Yeah,
go to recents. If it's just missed calls, it'll make the number go away.
She's
And
in
then-
recents, all right. No,
and
it
then-
did not.
It didn't make it go away.
It did not.
Do you
make
have
it
a
go.
lot of voicemails?
She does. 184 voicemails.
108. So those you do
No wonder
have
she
to
doesn't have space on her.
individually delete. Why do you have 184 voicemails? Jesus Christ. What is You're like, no. I won't be listening to that.
That's everyone trying to get in touch with her because she's not getting your text.
Honestly, I
Note
feel
to
like
self,
most of
don't
the people
leave
that
her a
text me
voicemail.
would rather
It's
just
much
assume
like
I was
regular
dead than actually
mail.
call me.
Apparently, Catherine lumps voicemails and physical mail in the same pile, which is, we don't check those. Those don't exist.
Wow.
She's like, if it's important, they'll text me. I just won't get it.
Sometimes I'll get it.
We just don't know when.
She's like, worst case scenario, email me. I'll check it in a week.
No. Send it in a reel. Make a reel.
There you go. I did the other day. I was like, or it was last night. I was like, well, if I need to get a hold of her, I could just message her on Instagram. She's probably going to get it.
She's getting those.
Those are coming through. Yeah, I don't know.
You just got to have to clear up some storage, girly.
Apparently I deleted some voicemails.
It might help.
I
Make some
can't.
space.
Yeah. Some of them I can delete. Some of them I can't.
Remind me when we get off the podcast, I can actually show you an easy way to figure out quick ways to make storage.
Cool, because I've just been deleting apps and I'm running out of apps that I can actually get rid of.
All right, cycling back into the night, Prince.
Sorry.
Back into chapter 35. So Blake ends up sedating Kai to interrogate him later. Callum asks for a word with Aurora and leads her back to, well, he leads her to James's room because that's where he's now staying because he's the new king. And there, Callum falls to his knees before her, apologizing for not getting to her sooner and admitting that he's both angry and jealous, but he's overall just relieved that she's okay. But Aurora is irritated at the unfairness of the position that he put her in, but is also worried about how he's feeling because she does love him. And so she knows, like, she's like, you just killed your brother, right? To become king. And Callum then informs her that James isn't dead, that apparently Callum knocked him out to deal with later and was like trying to fight off that ambush with the Southerners. And James technically forfeited being king because he didn't continue the challenge and he ran away and he escaped. So Aurora worries that James is going to come back and re-challenge him. But Callum sent Ryan after him, knowing that James thinks of Ryan as like a little brother and won't hurt him, and that Ryan can then inform him of where he's at. And so Callum's plan is that he'll just go find him afterwards and, end it once and for all. So Aurora knows that they need to talk, but Callum just tells her that he set her up in her old rooms, much to her dismay, because they've been sharing a room this whole time. So she just assumed that they would continue to share a room. And she knows he's angry, but he claims it's not with her and that he just needs time to get his head around something. And so we're going to assume that Callum saw that kiss, that
Mate bond.
He saw the mate bond, right? And so he's mad about it. So
I also find it interesting that he's trying to get his head around it, but he's not man enough to tell her what it is. Because he's like, something. And she's like, what? And he's like, things you don't understand. And I'm like...
Right. He won't talk to her about it. He irritates me so much sometimes. So...
Like, why don't you help her understand this is her life? Like, this is something that you are watching happen. This is her actual life. And if there is something that she doesn't understand that's going on with her, and you love her that much, don't you think that you should talk to her about it? But he's selfish, and he doesn't want her to recognize it. Like... I don't know.
Well, even Blake hasn't said anything.
But Blake here, we're gonna get to it. I feel like Blake wants to tell her, and for some reason, I don't know if he just can't, or what the deal is, or if he wants her to like ask about it. I don't know, because I pointed out when we get to it, but because he kind of like asks her to ask about it, but then she's like, I don't want to know, and he's like disappointed. So Aurora is rightfully angry that Callum can't even be bothered after everything she went through to have a conversation with her. And she remembers James talking about discovering something in one of Blake's books about the bond, and decides that while everyone is busy and distracted, she's not going to get a better time than now to go find that book. So in chapter 36, Aurora goes to Blake's room and finds it completely torn apart. But Blake is there, to her surprise. So she lies and says that she came to check on him and his wounds. And she sees that there's an open book on his desk, which she presumes is the one that she's been looking for. So she tells him she wants to, inspect his wounds and make sure they're okay, and tells him to turn around. And Blake 100% knows what she's up to, because he even comments that he can feel her being nervous through the bond. So she goes to snatch the book, but he grabs it first, kind of taunting her. And then Aurora ends up slamming her hand on a broken bottle, which makes him feel the pain through the bond. And he drops the book. And I was like, clever girl. She has a couple times used that pain in the bond to be like, ha. So she grabs it and she turns to run, but Blake grabs her, riling up her wolf. But he kind of teases her and tells her to calm down. But he assures her that he can keep the book, that he's done with it, and he only wants to heal her hand. And then when she
take the pages out or something?
Yeah.
It's coming back to me. It's coming back to me. Ugh.
Yeah, and he's like, so he gets her to sit down to heal the hand, and then he tells her she's a good girl. I'm like, you know what you're doing, Blake. You know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing, Blake.
So in chapter 37, as Blake works on her wound on her hand, he asks who took her to James, guessing that it was one of Lachlan's clan. And she tells him not to kill Ian, since he only did all of this to save his brother, who was being held as a prisoner. And she doesn't want another death on her hands. So she tells him about the storm the night she was taken and asks why Blake is afraid of those storms. And he ends up telling her the story of his mother hating him since he was born, since he was a product of basically his father raping her. And that his mother also always feared that he would be become like a wolf. And she hated that because I think he doesn't say it, but I would assume like she maybe associates what his father was because of like his wolf or whatever, and she didn't want him to be that as well. So anyways, so one night when he was a child, during a storm, that storm kind of triggered his wolf for the first time to start to come out. And she ends up dragging him to a priest. And that priest is trying to get him to repent by basically just beating him. And then when that didn't work, because the beating him just kept riling his wolf up, he throws him in a well. And he's just trapped in this dark well as the storm continues to rage on. And he's bad. And he tells him like he's not going to let him out of the wolf until he gets control, or out of the well until he gets control of his wolf. And so poor little Blakey's just got some PTSD. That man needs a therapist.
Yeah.
Like,
that's fair. Wow. See, whenever I see stuff like that, it's hard for me to wrap my head around because I have an 8-year-old and like I could never imagine. Like,
you're like, I can't imagine him being a wolf.
Well, that's true. But well,
good actor sometimes. He's been a lot of things.
I'm like
dinosaur.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really good though. But no, I mean like the well part. I'm like I can't get people doing stuff like that. Granted, these are fictional people, but still.
The sad thing is, there probably is some real person out there that threw a child in a well. That's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom, what was the name of that author? John Saul. John Saul loved to kill a kid, right? He wrote horror novels. He loved to kill some children, right? And I just can't do when it's kids. And then Ken Follett, love Ken Follett. Amazing author. He will do some things to some babies though. And it's just like, can we not do that?
Can we keep this to the adults?
Yeah.
Kill as many of them as you want.
Pretty much, yeah. Babies aren't killing babies.
So Blake ends up asking in turn what happened in the carriage with Sebastian, since he says it feels to him through the bond like that experience for her feels the same as what the well felt for him. And she ends up reliving the memory for him, admitting that she knows it was her choice in an effort to please her father when she agreed to that marriage, and that everything he would have done, like, because she's telling him about all those, like he threatened to like basically like hurt her and rape her and treat her like a whore and all these things in that carriage before she killed him. And so she knows what would have happened if that marriage would have played out and how she would have been treated. And so she's kind of blaming herself that it's her own fault because she agreed to all of this. And Blake assures her that coercion and consent are not the same thing, and she never deserved to be treated that way. And she says she hated feeling helpless and now sort of actually hates her mother for staying and being helpless too. But Blake says that wolves guard what is of high value to them, and perhaps she was protecting her, which I think we all can agree was what was happening. So Aurora tells him that she's tired and to just ignore her and like her rantings. And Blake refuses and says straight up like he can't ignore her. And I was like, oh, that's like the first time he's kind of admitted that he's not necessarily got feelings for her, but like is a little obsessed with her. And she reminds him that they are not friends, and he agrees that they are enemies. And when the time comes, he wants, quote, all of you, and I want you to throw everything you have at me. I want a glorious defeat. And I'm like, what does he mean? Because the plan has always been, what we got at the end of book 1 was that he wanted Callum to become king so he could, and then he's got this bond with Aurora so he can't be killed because Callum loves Aurora, right? He's not going to kill Aurora. And if Blake dies, she'll die. So he figures he can challenge Callum for for king, right? And he can either kill Callum or Callum can just forfeit, but then he can be king over the wolves. And we thought that that's it. That was sort of Blake's end game. That's what he's always kind of given off, right? But what if that isn't his end game? Because he's straight up saying he wants her to then defeat him. So I'm like, and he's been hinting this whole book that he wants her to be queen.
I think he knows that that's her destiny, is to be queen. If he doesn't know already that she is.
Has that been his plan the whole time? Is he like a master manipulator though? And this is like then all a ploy by Blake to put her in power?
I'm like, is it going to be one of those things where like he kills Callum or he does something with Callum and then like he forfeits with her or something like that?
Maybe he's putting the pieces together, like now that he's getting to know her. He has a bond with her. He kissed her. you know, I'm wondering if he's now suspecting, like, oh, she's this. She's going to be queen. And he's just.
But wouldn't she have to kill the Wolf King or challenge the Wolf King and the Wolf King forfeit?
So she can be queen of her land, of like the Southlands. Southlands? Is that where?
But the Wolf King is like.
But there's also like the Wolf King, and third book is called the Wolf Queen. And also,
Right.
again, he says, "I want you to throw everything you have at me. I want a glorious defeat." And he wants to be king. To me, this is saying that he wants her to defeat him and be queen,
Right, which means
of everything.
He's gonna have to kill Callum then,
Well, or Callum just has to like forfeit.
yeah, that too. But like, I don't know if I see Callum doing that against Blake.
Yeah, I don't super see it, but also someone says it. It comes up here shortly. I don't remember who ends up saying it to Callum, but Callum, it's Philip. It's her brother. Philip tells Callum that maybe he's not fit to be king because he refuses to make a political marriage alliance. Because he's like, I only want to marry for love. And he's like, then maybe you shouldn't be king because like you won't do what's right for your people.
Ooh.
Facts. I mean.
Like when you're king, you put your people first, not yourself.
That's right.
Ooh, some hard truths.
You do it
Yeah,
for
I
the
know.
love.
I was like, burn, Philip.
Well, which is funny because he's like only wants to marry for love, but like he loves Aurora, but Aurora's like, like better not. So like, I don't know. Wouldn't that be rough? He gives up his king status just to get rejected. I feel like you want to solidify that.
So Blake agrees to not kill Ian as long as Ian just stays like out of the picture and away. You know, like as long as he's over there, he's safe. So she asks if they're going to talk about what happened between them, and he asks if she wants to talk about it. So this is where I was talking about, like, I think Blake wants to tell her what happened because he asks her specifically if she wants to talk about it. And then she chickens out and says she sees basically the equivalent of like disappointment in him. And she's like, no, never mind. I don't want to talk about it. And he says, when you do, let me know when you do. And so I'm like, he totally wants her to know. But I'm like, why can't he just tell her?
I guess like part of it's him trying to.
Unless he
like,
just doesn't.
He's asking her if she wants to. And,
Right.
You know,
Like
he's like, okay, well, if you don't want to, then we don't have to. Like, you know, kind of a thing. More than I feel like his
maybe he
not
just doesn't want to like
selfish
jump it on her. And then
yeah,
have to
whereas
deal,
I feel
just
like
something
Callum
else
is
for her to
like,
deal with.
I don't want to tell you because I don't want you to.
She already knows to an extent. I mean, she knows that because it has on page 297 into 298 her thoughts on Blake. But then she's like, he can be all of these things. They were kind of mean. And then she goes, and ... want me. Like, Blake is all of these negative things, but he can show compassion. And it's possible.
And she's also
he might
incredibly
want me.
wrong because he didn't do some of these things that she thinks that he's done. And,
Yeah.
you know,
And I think she knows, and she's just like, we'll not talk about that.
It really annoys me when people in real life as well in fictional worlds will not correct people when they have negative assumptions. Like, why don't you just tell her that you did not torture people? Why let someone think that?
He likes it.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I
He
don't
likes that she thinks that.
Well, and I think, I don't know. I think
people do that in real
Blake-
life too.
Well,
My
Blake all
husband will
along
do that.
has
I'm
been
like,
made
you
out to
didn't
be
correct
the
them? No.
villain. Like this whole time, everybody thinks Blake's the villain, and I think he's just like, I'll be happy to play the villain if that's what you want.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes it's kind of like if that's what you think, no matter what I say, you're just gonna believe it even more. Like
And
if
I
he's
don't
there
know.
being like, I didn't torture anybody, she's gonna be like, yeah, right. You know.
And in
she's
some
gonna-
ways, I think Blake kind of believes he is the villain a little bit.
Well, I get well.
and he's certainly not innocent. You know,
He's more
he's not completely innocent. He's just not as evil as everyone makes him out to be.
So we get into chapter 38, and Aurora's reading that book that she took from Blake, and she falls asleep, waking in another dream in Knight's prison, but is then awoken for real when Fiona knocks, telling her to put on a dress and come to the feast for the new king. And she's disappointed Callum didn't tell her himself, but Fiona is so excited about this feast that it's catching. And so she's like also kind of excited. And so she gets ready. She puts on a pretty red dress and does her hair up really cute. And when she arrives, she hears basically everybody down in the hall whispering about her, calling her a whore, saying that this is all her fault. She's caused all of this. So Aurora ends up joining Lachlan and Callum at the table to eat and kind of like having awkward small talk when Fiona bursts in, dragging a man behind her. and then throws him down in front of them onto like the ground. And he teases her, this guy teases her about wanting him on his knees. And Aurora recognizes the accent from her homeland along with the hint of nobility in the way he speaks. And then Fiona hits him and like smacks him or punches him, and he jokes about if he keeps treating her or in this way, he's gonna end up falling in love with her. And Fiona says that she found him in the stables, and Aurora realizes after looking at him that it's her brother Philip. So in chapter 39, Aurora hates her brother, and all we get this like her remembering him as a child, and so we kind of get a little bit more about him because remember, we don't get much about him in book one. To the point, I didn't even know she had a brother.
Didn't he just come across kind of like pompous womanizery in book one?
Just like worthless.
Well,
he was an entitled heir. He drank a lot. He behaved poorly. He treated her like crap. He was never punished while she was punished all the time for like the slightest thing. And
in book one, he was like barely mentioned, but like
he
she was comparing him to like my father lets him do everything. I can't do anything, and that's essentially all you got.
Well, and and it's important to note that like Aurora views her brother as just like super lazy, kind of incompetent, very entitled, and so because like throughout this, everything is like she's like. Well, like, it's not like he would have went to war. Like, he's just going to sit in a tent and let everybody else do the dirty work. Like, she doesn't view him as ever getting, like, his hands dirty or being competent enough to, like, actually be in a battle or be a part of anything. He's just sort of there to enjoy the spoils. So, Philip says that she's been a naughty girl and that their father is going to be real unhappy right before Blake ends up plunging a needle in his neck, sedating him, and saying that he's going to take him to an infirmary for a little bit of a chat later. And Aurora warns, like everybody else, that, again, because she doesn't think her brother can do anything, she's like, well, he wouldn't have come on his own. He's going to need, like, a whole crew to, like, take care of his ass. And so, like, to be on the lookout. So Lachlan agrees to go take a group to go look in case there are others there with him.
He can barely dress himself.
Right. So Blake has him tied up and breaks out a little kit that looks like a torture kit filled with, like, scalpels and other tools that would not be used for, like, nice things. And Aurora is sure her brother's going to, like, cower and break immediately. And instead, her brother is like joking with Blake about like, didn't know that he liked bondage and just like taking it all in stride and very casually. And ends up smiling at him to the point that Callum looks at her and says, is your brother an idiot? Which is like, it genuinely made me laugh out loud because I could see him just being like, what is wrong with him?
Like, is he actually psychotic? Like, what?
Like, what's wrong with your brother?
I love her response is, he's not a wise man.
Yeah. I'm like, Aurora's just over there like, he ain't winning any awards. It's fine. So Aurora demands to know why he's there and chastises his behavior, like being in this enemy camp and like treating it this way. And Philip notes that she's changed and she claims that, well, he hasn't. And Philip is like, you might be surprised. And Philip claims to the men in the room that this is what she does, wraps powerful men around her finger to get what she wants, which enrages Aurora because, like, in her mind, she's like, I've never gotten anything I wanted. You know, like, I've just been used my whole life. So Blake mentions that Philip looks a little overdressed, like, for the warm weather, implying that he's hiding something, and ends up pulling off one of his gloves, revealing a missing finger, and asks if it was torture or frostbite, which then, again, clues us in that Blake knows a little more about everything. And so they're interrupted by, was it Isla or Isla? Or, I don't know.
I just think of Isla Fish. Is it Isla Fisher or Isla Fisher?
Oh, it could be Isla.
Yeah. Isla.
So she was like from book one, she was in love with Callum and very jealous.
She's the mean girl?
She's the mean girl, right? She was in love with Callum, jealous that Aurora was on the scene, didn't like her. I think she might have even been the one that like got Magnus to do some stuff or like, or took the collar maybe. I don't know. She was not nice. So Isla comes in unannounced and Philip asks if she's there for primrose oil, which is odd since it's what's used to ease their monthly bleed symptoms, which it's like, why would Philip know that? And like,
because.
So Isla claims she can smell the fear on him and can see right through him, while Philip in turn then calls out her perfume being a popular love potion and that the way she's dressed and made up is clearly to attract someone of power, maybe perhaps a king like Callum, and says, don't worry, I see you too. and offers for her to come to him instead since he bites back just as hard as she does. And when he looks up, he has a wolf in his eyes. So, dun dun dun.
But like,
And then she
why
should
would
put-
she not suspect that? Like, did she think, you know what?
Just me.
Mom's jeans, they only came to me. Like, I'm like, he's literally your brother. Like, you didn't think that maybe, possibly.
I think she was just very self-absorbed of what was happening with her own life. Not in like a negative way, like she's being selfish, but just like
But it's
she's
just like,
there. I have a lot going on.
we didn't think, you know. And it sounds like he's farther along in his journey than her. So
Yeah.
He's already obviously
He's
shifted,
already
and she
shifted.
hasn't. Which she mentions later. She's like, "Of course that fucker would have figured it out right away."
You know, he didn't ever have the wolf beaten out of him, like, or as far as we know, right? Like, he
didn't
wasn't.
he say that things were not as they seemed as far as he was
Maybe,
concerned? Like,
maybe.
I don't know if he was beaten, but I feel like something happened with him that wasn't good. Like,
Maybe
I
he was
don't,
shipped off.
I don't remember.
So we get into chapter 40, and during the following interrogation of Philip, Aurora learns that Blake knew about her brother and had sent Jake to follow him and learn more after he was bitten. And Jake followed him into the snowlands, but then lost him and he had disappeared, which is apparently where Philip lost his finger to frostbite. And he says he is there for Callum and has a message from the Queen of the Snowlands, who believes an agent of the God of Night wishes to have him released from prison, which is a recurring theme we're getting all through this book, and that she needs an army to push him and his followers back, and has a message for the Wolf King, and that she wants his hand in marriage. So once again, dun dun dun. So in chapter 41, in explanation for the betrothal request, Philip gives us a little backstory where their mother, like 30 years previously, had been sent to the Southlands by their grandmother in exchange for help to fight off the Shadow Wolf, which Aurora read about in a book at one point. And the Shadow Wolf was devoted to the God of Night. And with that alliance of their mother being sent to the Southlands in that marriage, it was in exchange for armies to help them secure a defeat against the Shadow Wolf and that threat. But now there's a new threat rising, and everyone is now at risk, and they need to unite against, this new threat that's against the everything, basically. So Philip encourages the marriage, saying his father would never agree to one with Aurora, and this one makes more sense politically. But Callum claims that he only wants to marry for love, and Philip says that maybe he's not ready to be king then. And I was like, I still don't know what to think of Philip, but I was like, you might not be wrong, Philip.
Philip almost in a way reminds me of just the attitude, like the dude from Fury Bound that we like.
So I was like, who?
Stark?
No, the other guy.
Lucian?
Yeah. Like just an attitude.
He
Like
kind of reminds me of what's his face from Quicksilver.
Carrion. Yeah.
Yes.
Like maybe like a nice little combo platter, because
Yeah.
like he's like
I do like how quippy he is, and just
Right.
kind of like he just doesn't give a shit.
the primrose oil was diabolical. I was like, dang.
Well, and him,
I love that.
Well, and him like calling her out for basically like being a little slutty for Callum, and just being like, I'm on. Like he's just like, I'm not even from here, and I can see it from like a
I don't
mile."
even go here.
Yeah. Like, could you be more obvious?
And also he's like, listen, I don't care. I don't know anything about
He's
you
also
people.
like flirting with anything that moves. If it's
Yeah.
mean to him, he loves it. He's like, hit me harder.
A little snippet of his story, just a little novella of his travels.
Him just like
it'd
getting
be
frostbite in this Northland, just like, I'm going. I would like to say that too. Alright, sorry, go ahead.
Well, and Aurora, she does tend to seem to have a habit of like really underestimating some people, because like Blake, she's just like not even. She's like, he's the bad guy. But then like her brother, she's like, oh, he can't even like tie his shoelaces. Like,
And then he's like gotten to shift. And she's like, dang it!
yeah. Well, and he's like, apparently, we get to it here in a minute, I think, but like, he's like, apparently like a super warrior, which he plays off. And she's like, couldn't be him.
Couldn't be.
So again, Philip is trying to convince Callum of the merits of that marriage alliance, even claiming that it could just be for appearances and stabilization amongst his own people, because it would solve any infighting that's going to happen with him taking over the crown, and that he can carry on with Aurora with like whatever they got going on, and like no one's going to say anything. And I wanted to like draw attention to Callum saying When I marry, she will have all of me, heart, body, and soul, and I expect the same from her. I will settle for no less. And I think that's really important because I think it explains, as much as like I don't 100% understand, even with that, why Callum acts the way he does, but it does sort of explain it because of that mate bond. He knows she's never gonna fully be his.
Right.
But then I'm like, then let her go. Like, let it go. Instead of the way he ends up treating her. It's like you can't be one toe in. It's 10 or none. Like,
Yep.
But you know, this whole conversation between Philip and Callum and talking about his marriage, I am skimming to be fair, but there's no mention of Aurora feeling jealous or, turned off or just like, I'm super jealous about that. Why would Philip mention that? Why would, you know what I'm saying? She's just like, yeah.
she's like, yeah, get married, bud.
Like, Callum, you should totally do it. She's not saying that, but you're not getting the other side of her. I mean, could you imagine if
she
someone
actually-
was like,
well, and
"No,
she-
you should marry someone other than Mary"?
She was, I feel like she was more jealous of like was it Claire that first showed up? And then she ended up being fine with it after she talked to her and stuff. But like, yeah, I feel like
Her
she was
feelings toward him have changed since then.
I
like,
think so.
She's seeing
I
little
think
red
she's-
flags now.
So I'm looking, and it's only dialogue between Callum and Philip. And the first time, so she does think that he's obnoxious and arrogant because he says that like he's the heir automatically. But then you see her again, and the next thought that she has is she has questions. There's so much I want to know. I wonder what he found out in the Snowlands and whether he knows my mother was a wolf. You know what I mean? It's nothing
She's
about.
not even worried
There's
about
no
that.
jerk reaction of jealousy there. Like,
Yeah.
there's no feelings toward it. I feel like, girl, that's a sign. You just had someone
Because
say
literally-
you need to marry someone else. He is not the love of your life if you're not even a teeny bit jealous.
Claire just like bops her head in somewhere to be, hey, and then she's like, who's that? Like, you know what I mean?
She's like, I want to bite him. And now she's like, she can have him.
yeah.
It's fine. So Jack and Lachlan end up arriving, and Lachlan reveals a tattoo marking Philip as a deadly Snowlands warrior, which surprises Aurora because once again, she's like, can't be my brother. He can't fight like or do anything. But for the first time, her brother has kind of a look in his eye, and she sees him that he could possibly be dangerous. But then Philip switches real quick and kind of hides it and plays it off as like, it was just like a drunken night. Bad decisions were made, and just plays off that tattoo like it was not like that. He's like a nobody. So I think there's a lot more to Philip that
For sure.
in book 3 we're going to end up uncovering. I mean, we get more of him in this book, but like I think we're going to see a lot more hopefully in book 3. So Callum tells Philip to leave, but he says he won't until Callum agrees to this marriage with Ingrid, or at least agrees to talk to Ingrid. And Callum says he won't force him to leave, but he's also not going to protect him either, and that everybody else is just going to kill him because of who he is. So he's like, cool, you can stay. Good luck with that. And Callum escorts Aurora out into her rooms. And in chapter 42, Callum complains that he can't get that kiss out of his head, and like Aurora's like, you told him to do it. Like, what do you want? And she proceeds to remind him that she had been taken and she had been kidnapped and she was bound and she was humiliated, and then proceeded to have Blake told to be, told to kiss her and was told to do that. And she believes that Blake kissed her only in order to be able to release her because she remembers him coming up to her, like him tapping the table to get Callum's attention, and him coming up and testing her bindings and how loose or tight they were right away and trying to signal Callum. But Callum wasn't paying attention. He was too jealous about what was happening to see through any of that. And like, she's like, none of this would have happened if you would have just challenged James right away, which is what you were like there to do to begin with. And she demands to know why he didn't do it. And Callum finally admits that he just had to know. Like, he had to know what was like. He knew something he had suspected something was going on, and so he just had to know. And that he wonders that if his brother was trying to help him and show him that he loved someone that would never fully be his, and that he suspected for a while. But meanwhile, he's saying all of this and he never tells her what that is. And he ends up demanding to know what she felt while kissing him, and she claims that she didn't feel anything, and then he's like telling her that she's lying. And then she ends up just saying that she felt Blake's own emotions. And I think eventually she admits, like, that she felt something, but it was like mixed with fear and confusion and hurt for Callum making her do that and all of these things. And, you know, Callum kind of accepts it, but doesn't, I don't know. Callum's just being weird about the whole thing. It's all Callum's fault to begin with, and he's being kind of a jerk about it. So Aurora
That's what jealousy feels like. She had no jealous feelings like when Philip was like, you should marry someone. She was just like,
Well, I do like Aurora basically just tells him to go for a walk and like chill out and get over it. And like, and to stop pushing her away because she chose him. Like she made the choice. She chose him. He just needs to get over it. And before he leaves, she's conflicted about her feelings about her brother because she hates him, but she also doesn't necessarily want him dead. So Callum says that he'll end up claiming that they're hostage and they're using him in order to, like, by saying that it's going to keep him safe. But he also says he's going to place a guard outside her door to keep her safe. And she realizes that he never would have done that before. He would have just protected her himself. And so she realizes that once again, he's still distancing himself from. So how do we feel about Callum's reaction? Is it justified? Like, is it a human reaction? Is he just like upset? Or is he being a douche?
I do get being upset about it because you've fallen for this person. You have feelings for this person. You know what a mate bond is. You're suspecting a mate bond. You're pretty sure it's a mate bond now. And so, like he said, it's like, you know, I'm cursed to want something that can never really be mine. Because again, earlier he's like 10 toes in or nothing. But what's the part that I don't like is how he's pushing her to tell her all these things, but he will not tell her what it is. Yeah, like he's still keeping that from her. And I'm like, I feel like if you really do love someone and you're really wanting them to fully understand, then you're going to tell them what it is.
Part of me is I'm struggling to like, I'm just irritated with him and like I'm struggling to even want to consider his feelings, I guess. Because like I keep putting myself in Aurora's shoes and I'm like, she didn't ask for any of this. None of this was her choice. It wasn't, you know, like the original.
She didn't even have to offer to help in the beginning, like to begin with.
Like the marriage to Sebastian wasn't her choice. The closest thing to her choice was choosing to leave with Callum. And then she's like thrown into this whole other world. She falls in love with Callum, right? She has this kind of weird relationship with Blake, but she's not like pursuing anything with Blake at all. She's very much devoted to Callum and trying to be with Callum. And then like she gets, like she said, she gets kidnapped and all these things happen to her. The kiss is forced on her. The mate bond, technically, as far as we know, like maybe we'll learn more about it later, but it's like, that's not her choice. Blake saving her and that other bond, that life bond, wasn't her choice. Like nothing's been her choice. And so to then blame her for this seems unfair.
It feels like...
But I also feel like it could be a human response from him to just be like upset that like, you're never really all mine.
Yeah, and I agree to all of that. Honestly, it feels like a new relationship. You know how when you're dating and you have to take this time to figure out who the person is, and a lot of people don't talk about the heavy questions about what you're expecting, where the relationship goes. You're just getting to know the person. That feels a lot like this, as where when I found Justin, to be fair, I was like in my 30s, so at that point I knew what I was looking for and what I wanted. But immediately the second date was like, all the hit questions you shouldn't probably talk about. But it was kind of like, in my 30s, I'm not trying to like waste time here. So we spoke about all the taboo topics you could possibly think of. And we didn't play this like running around game. There was no, oh, I have these feelings. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to, I know something about you, but I'm not going to tell you. There was none of that. It was
to the point.
We were to the point. Second date. It was money, politics, children, religion. It was all of it.
Like, pottying, bathroom door open or closed. Which is it? Come on.
Let's go. It was make it or break it relationship topics. The topics that could, is it a deal breaker? We had all of them. And they're just kind of dancing around a lot of this. And they're just not.
We talked about it at the beginning of this book and through these first initial set of chapters, but I think her brother's right. Aurora has changed. She's growing up as a person. She's growing into herself and who she is when she's not under someone else's thumb all the time and being put in a box. And when she met Callum, he liked her as like a victim.
Yeah.
For less of a better word. and he is failing to, like, he's failing to continue to love who she is as she grows into herself. He wants that same person, and she wants him to love her where she's at. And there's this disconnect that's happening.
Well, and like the trick is that, you change constantly throughout your life. And the trick is being with someone who will choose to love you in your new forms versus.
Right. Well,
and vice versa.
You want someone who wants more for you, who wants to grow with you and not just only love one version of you,
Like James has seen me as the 17-year-old who knew nothing and had very idealistic, whatever. And
But y'all talked about it.
now I'm the 32-year-old who is very different from the 17-year-old.
But y'all, you
Same
had
with
the
him. He's different,
conversations
too.
and you talked about it, and they're not talking about the elephant in the room. Like, they tried, but he's still holding stuff back. I mean, he could have told her about
But you know
the
what?
date.
There would be so much that could be solved if you would just say words.
We would have a story.
It's
Okay,
like,
so I know, like, technically
Just lay it out.
technically it's miscommunication trope, but I'm gonna say something that's probably like a hot topic item here. But I know
Hot
a lot
take?
of people, yeah, like a little hot take. A lot of people hate the miscommunication trope. I hate a bad miscommunication trope, but I think miscommunication happens all the time.
yeah.
All of the time.
say-
I am in an extremely healthy marriage, and there are still times where I let things build up and I just don't say anything. And then finally I'm like, I need to say something because it's bothering me. And we have a healthy relationship and we talk about things. But there are times I wait too long, and I let myself get more irritated than I should. And if we just talk about it, we'd be fine.
If it's miscommunication, it's more like just withholding information. Like, because they're talking, but he is withholding information from her.
There you are.
Like, what is it doing?
Because she was like, they talked about it, they had a conversation, but it was not a satisfactory conversation.
Like, can we imagine if a couple chapters ago, and he was like, do you want to talk about it? And she was like, yeah. Wouldn't that have been nice?
And that was
We would have gotten a lot further, a lot faster.
Like, it's just like, I feel like the correct answer there was, yeah. Like, because
then we're
also,
gonna miss the
you
dun-dun-dun
wanted to
moment.
because you wouldn't have brought it up if you didn't want to. Why say no? I don't.
It's because she knows, and she don't want to hear the answer. She knows. She
I'm
was
like-
he's all these things, but yes, he wants her.
She's over
And
here
she
like,
knows he
are we
wants
going to
her.
talk about it?
She doesn't want to deal with that.
I don't want to.
She's like, I don't want to deal with that because I'm devoted to Callum. And to be fair, I feel like for her character to grow as a person, she does need to be with Callum for a hot minute to observe all of Callum's red flags and to observe how much of what she doesn't want so that she can figure out what she does want, and then she'll see that in Blake, and then she'll be ready to accept Blake. But right now she can't do it.
There's a lot
She
of-
hasn't grown into that character
There's
yet.
a lot about Callum that I do like. I feel like he's
yeah.
dropping the ball a little bit. And
He's
by
just
a little bit, I mean a lot.
Callum
But-
is a friend. He would be my friend. Like, there's nothing...
Be besties with Callum. We just don't want to like marry Callum.
Yeah, he's definitely the guy that you want in your corner.
Yeah.
Like, cool dude. Like, he's the guy that, like, everyone goes, oh my god, I love him. But it's not the guy
But
that's
I don't
like,
want to date him. Or
I don't want to
marry
date
him.
him. Like,
And I don't want to pinpoint him. Like, some people are like, everybody, like, girls don't ever fall for the nice guy. And I'm like,
not true.
Callum is a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. But he's missing. Like, he'd also be a nice guy if he would, encourage Aurora to continue seeking independence and strength and all of these things. And he, won't do that. He's, not seeing her for who she is, which to me is not a nice guy trait. That would be... that's what he needs to be doing. And so that's what, he's missing. his
Like,
character.
I do not have any complaints on the whole about Callum as a person. How he is acting in this particular situation with her is not one that would lend itself to
It's just
staying
juvenile.
together. Like,
I feel,
he's not acting like an adult.
I feel like Callum should have realized by now she ain't the one.
Let it go.
Like, you kind of.
It's gonna hurt. It sucks. I know you love her.
It's time to maybe.
Let it go.
It's time to end it.
He's stringing her
know?
along at this point because he's not telling her why. He's just telling
Well, and
her.
I think that's what really pissed me off in this book is you get the shift from her growing, him not accepting that, and then you get to this point, right? This is a pivotal moment after from Callum pre-kiss with Blake, Callum post-kiss with Blake. And he kind of turns into a dick because he is. He's like stringing her along, but then pushing her away. And it's like, you either want her or you don't.
He's
Either
keeping
let
her
her
like at
go.
arm's length. Yeah.
Yeah. Either let her go.
Because he doesn't want to be alone. You know, you have those people that are like, I'd rather be in a crappy relationship versus being alone and not in a relationship at all. You know those people. You know,
but it's still
everyone
a
has those
shitty thing to
friends
do.
that are
Don't
like,
do it.
I'm gonna just keep dating. This is gonna peter out. I'm gonna find someone else, and then when I find someone else, then I'll dump that person. So then I can immediately go into this new relationship instead of spending that time of reflection. Like, why did this not work? Well, it's because of this. Maybe next relationship, I don't go for that.
So Blake needs a therapist, and Aurora and Callum needs like a couples counselor.
They all need a therapist of some sort. My goodness. The mental health in this society right here is just not up to par.
So as we go into chapter 43, Aurora is dreaming and she's in Knight's prison again. And Blake is there with her. And Blake shows her a hole in the prison, and they surmise that one of Knight's prisoners is loose and on Earth, and likely what Alexander was keeping at Greykeep and what Kai described when he was there. So she jumps from one scene in her dream to the next. And in the next scene, she's like a puppet being held by hooks and strings with her mouth sewn shut. And she's had this dream before. This isn't a new dream for her. And she's a puppet in her father's court, which makes sense because that's how she views herself. But this time it's different because everything in the scene freezes, and then Blake arrives and he's kind of like inspecting her, and he starts talking to her, and he wonders out loud who's controlling those strings. So, at first she's like, is it, your father? Is it these, all these different things, even saying like, is it loyalty? And then finally he's like, is it you? And you could just break free if you wanted to. And once again, he tells her that he refers to like wearing the red dress the night before at that feast. And he says that she looked like a queen and could be one if she wished, and then even offers to kill her brother for her so she could inherit the throne. And so Aurora wakes and goes back to reading the book that she found in Blake's room. And she finds something and immediately bolts to go find Blake. So in chapter 44, when she finds Blake, she pins him to the wall, pulling up his shirt and revealing a long scar, and asks, who did this to you? And she shows him the page in the book, asking if wolves' internal organs grow back when removed, and describes an incision where the scar is. And Aurora has finally realized that it's Blake who was tortured and experimented on. And Blake, tells her that it was the master of healing at her castle, and that it was actually her father's program that was doing this. And with that, Aurora realizes that Blake may actually hate her father far more than like anybody else might because of what was done to him. And after offering to kill Philip, she worries that he might actually harm her in some way in order to destroy the throne. But he tells her that he would never hurt her, which I'm like, girl, he's not going to hurt you. He's offering to give you the throne. Like, have you not heard what this man is saying? He's trying to make you queen.
She is just like ignoring all of those things with Blake. She's like, I felt something when he kissed me. Girl, you felt everything and you know it. Stop lying to yourself. She needs to have a conversation with herself.
There you go. She ends up asking if he killed the Master of Healing, and Blake tells her that she's asking the wrong questions, but then does tell her that the Master is still alive. And I'm like, what are the right questions, Blake? What are the right questions?
Are we mates?
So Callum avoids her all of that day, all of the night. And then the next day she goes to find him and he's like off doing something else again. And so she's sick of waiting for him, right? And so instead she starts following her brother around. And her brother's just going around the castle, just like talking to different people and asking if it's true that the heart of the moon is here. And so she knows that her brother is also looking for the heart of the moon, and that rumors are apparently out that it's there, which I'm like, girl, it's you.
Yeah. And we're all like, well, yeah, it is there. It's not an it, it's a her.
Y'all probably need to like watch where she's going.
It moves around.
So eventually she returns to her room to continue reading and finds pages missing from her book. And she realizes that's why Blake let her take that book so easily, because he'd removed those pages. So she's like, I'm going to go sneak into his room. So in chapter 45, looking through his room, she ends up finding letters from his spies, one of Elsie's romance novels, which she thought was a little odd. It was in there, which we talked about previously. I think maybe even on the last, I don't know if it was the first episode or the last episode, because Catherine, you thought maybe he was keeping, like, he kept taking those from her. Every time she had one, Elsie would give her one and Blake would steal it. And you were like, I think he doesn't want her to know about the mates.
Like, there's got to be mates in each one.
There is. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It could be several things, and then maybe all things at once. The mate bond information he doesn't want her to know about. B, he really loves romance.
He's secretly just eating it up. He's like, the alpha pinned her down.
He doesn't want her getting excited, meaning he will get excited because he's going to feel those emotions. And it could be all of those reasonings.
That's a good.
But I would love in the third book if she just calls him out, why did you have all the romance? And he's just like, I really like those. It's my guilty pleasure.
He's like, why do you think I keep calling you good girl?
That's where I get all my best tips from.
You can just see Blake in his room, just like
taking notes.
Taking notes. Ooh, I can try this.
So she also finds some maps in the room, and then she comes across an old family tree that traces to her great-grandmother and also has some names missing. And so she's like, this seems important, and she pockets it because she's like, why would Blake have something tracing her family lineage? Why was Sebastian tracing her family lineage? Because there's like a note at the top of that from the spy that sent it to him that was like, hey, found this in Sebastian's room. Think you might find it interesting or something like that. So she's like starting to wonder why everybody's tracing her lineage. And again, I'm like, girl, it's because you're the heart of the moon. But anyways, I digress.
Everyone talks about how Callum's not too bright.
To be fair, she's just now learning about a lot of this stuff. So, like,
everybody keeps telling her it's like a rock or like a jewelry. Like, she's just
who
thinks it's a person? Come on.
Well, and I'm kind of hard on myself, so I would not be thinking so highly as to be like, it's me. I'd be like, get out of town.
Are you sure?
I'd be like, nah. You're wrong.
So she hears voices outside the room, and she overhears Jack, once again, being concerned for Blake, telling him that he's not thinking clearly. He's telling him, like, hey, when's the last time you took someone to bed? That he's worried he's going to do something reckless, which, again, we talked about this earlier. I think Jack has known about that mate bond since the get-go, and he's worried about how it's affecting Blake. But Blake begs him to just go look into like that dark beast that possibly escaped Knight's prison and to see if Alex has it, and tells him to hurry back because he doesn't think that Callum's going to put up with him much longer, and he's probably not going to be allowed to stay there. And so Aurora ends up hiding under the bed and waiting for Blake to come in and go to sleep. And as she goes to slip away once he falls asleep, she notices parchment sticking out from underneath his pillow and tries to sneak it out. And Blake ends up waking up, and he grabs those papers, rolling her and pinning her underneath him, and straddles her, but his wolf is in his eyes, looking feral as Aurora begs him to stop. And that is where our chapters end. So next week...
Doing this recap. This is nice. Because it's been a while since I've read it, so...
Okay. So next week, we're going to finish up The Night Prince. We're going to give our final review and our star rating, as we always do. And we're also going to have all of our theories and predictions for The Wolf Queen, which did get pushed, which I'm a little sad about, because it was supposed to come out, I think, in November of this year. And now it's gotten pushed to, like, is it May? I think it's May of 2027. But, the author said as she got into it, I'm actually really proud because when the announcement first got released and I was reading the first half, I was like, no, she's going to drag it out into more than like a trilogy.
Yeah.
Because she's like, as I got into it, the story, there was just more of the story unfolding and there was more I wanted to tell and the characters were doing things. And I'm like, she's dragging it out. And I was like, no. Because as much as I love this world and I would want to stay in it, usually when it gets drug out, like it gets disappointing.
Well,
right?
the plot gets...
Yeah. So I was like, oh no. But then she was just like, I just want to take my time with it. And I was like, that I like. Because you're taking the time to tell the story
Make sure
how
it's
it
right.
needs to be told.
Dot
And get
your
it
I's,
right.
cross your T's.
I'm wondering if it's going to be chunky. If it's that.
Love a chunky
Right.
book.
I love a chunky book.
A chunky Blake book.
I love thick books.
So I'm actually really excited for it. In fact, this might be one of my most anticipated reads coming up.
Yeah.
Like I think it's past ACOTAR because I'm interested. I'm like curious to know who she's gonna end. Like because we still don't even know what the book's about, and she's like said it surprised her. What she ended up writing about. So like I'm curious.
She was saying, I was like, golly, how could what?
But I'm curious and I'm excited. But this I'm super excited for.
Yeah.
Like, it's up there with, like, the next Fourth Wing book. Like, it's one of my top, I want to know.
I'm very
wanna know.
excited, yeah.
I'm not nosy. I just want to know.
Yeah. And I
I'm
think this
nosy.
is one of those, so, like, I talk about
I'm
how,
not judging.
I'm
But
not
I want to
judging.
know.
I don't care what you do. I just want to know what you're doing.
like, I know when we started the very first of these books, when we very first started, I was like, oh, I don't know, because the writing just seemed kind of like, it was just okay. But then the story sucked me in, and it ended up being like a top read for me. But
The
now,
writing's gotten pretty good, but
I think
maybe it's just
I think it's
reading.
improved a ton.
think it
She
is.
is, well, one, I think she's fantastic at dialogue. Like, she's just really good at dialogue. She's really good at
Her
characters.
characters are very well thought out.
Yes. And I don't think her strength is always her narrative, but I think she's figured out how to make that work for her, because it's a lot of just like dialogue and character driven, and it works great. I love it. I'm so invested. I can't wait for the third book. This is going to be, I think, one of those like reread comforty reads for me, because I've enjoyed rereading.
Yeah,
this
I
again.
feel that too. Because it's also like they're
Because
like
it's fun too. It's just fun.
it's fun and it's kind of it's quick. Like
Yeah.
it's not
It
like
sucks you in. It drives you through. And I think because
least-
of the writing style, it is a quicker read, because it's
I
not.
remember we started it, and Catherine was like, "I'm done."
with the Night Prince too.
Yeah, she was like, "I finished the first, like before we finished the first book." Oh, she's like, "I finished it,
And the
I
Night Prince.
finished the Night Prince before we finished."
Well, I
the
remember
first."
because I also remember when we first started reading. When we very first, like you had started reading before I did, and you had said, "I don't know, I have questions about the writing or whatever." And then I started reading it. I remember telling James, it was like pretty late at night. It was like 11:30 at night or something. It was like dark. We were in the kitchen, and I just finished like reading a little bit, and I was like, "I think I'm stupid." And James goes, "What?" And I was just like, "Well, Mary was talking about the writing and stuff," and I was like, "But man, if I'm not really into this."
Well, and I think, again, as you get into the story, like when you first go in, you're having to world build, you're having to like get people into it. So there was a lot more narrative at the beginning, which I just personally, I don't feel is her strong suit.
Didn't
But
we just come off
that
of
comes,
Direbound?
we came up,
Wasn't there? What did we finish reading?
well,
before
we
that?
had done The Night and the Moth, and then we did Direbound. Was the
We
one
had some really amazing stuff.
we had some really great books.
And then
So-
I think that transition of that type of writing, it was like
yeah,
that.
and here's the struggle when you're reading something like The Night and the Moth, which I think lends itself a little bit more literary and elevated, and then when you read something else, and it's still a good book and it's still a good story, but like that, there is a difference in the style of writing, But
I
to
am
me,
excited
like, there's
for
different
Nathan.
5-star reads for me. There's like 5-star, like more literary reads.
fair.
And then there's like 5-star, like I just ate that up and it was delicious and I want another.
I'm like that a lot too, because if I look at my like books read, and I'm like, you look at like some of the 5 stars that are like right there together, you're like those are
Yeah, I know.
very different.
You can tell you're like, well, that was a vibes.
Yeah.
Well, my thing is like there are 5-star reads that it takes me a long time to get through, but it was heavy on my heart, or like it's going to stay with me. It has me questioning things. It was beautifully written, but it took me like forever to read. And there was times I put it down and I was like, whatever. But then I have 5-star reads, and it's a 5-star read because I could not put it down. It might have been technically literary trash. I don't care. It was a good time. And I enjoyed it.
Good time.
Literary.
I might forget what it is. Like, I might forget the main characters by the next week. But you know what? It held my attention nonstop.
Like in February, I had Alchemized, which was a 5.
Right. And
And
like,
it also had the
comparing
Intense
anything to
Ingredient.
Alchemized,
Yeah,
I
also-
feel like is just unfair. Like,
Very
an Alchemized 5-star is not the same as like,
The Enchanted Green.
This.
right. Or like a cowboy romance 5-star. Like, there's going to be a difference. It's not quite the same.
I went through this whole thing when we were at the lake because my sister-in-law is like trying to get through Alchemize and she's struggling pretty hard because like in the beginning, and I told her, I was like, we all struggled in the beginning, like because it's just a lot of
Did she read Manacle?
no, and so there's so much of it because like there's so much world building in the beginning and it's very information heavy.
I
I was
do
like,
think
you
if
gotta push through this because what's gonna happen is when you get to part 2, then all of part 1 starts making sense.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you have
I
to go.
I think people who went into Alchemized without reading Manacled, as much as I respect that, and I was like, good for
I think
you.
they have a harder time.
I would imagine it was so hard because we knew what we were getting into.
We
And
were
you
able
knew
to
the
push through, we
overall,
knew the story
like,
was going to be good.
you even no matter what changed, you knew the overall themes, right? And you knew what was going to happen. You knew there was going to be this like memory missing situation. And I'm like, I don't know that going into, because it was a little rough even knowing those first several chapters. I was like, what is happening?
I
What are these words I'm
struggled
reading?
to finish those chapters before our first recording. Like, I told Rachel this. I was like, it is rough in the beginning. I'm not saying that it's not, but it's got
The
a
payoff
good
is there, yeah.
Yeah, like
I was at a
just
coffee
gotta
shop
stay
and I
with
remember,
it.
and I was only in like chapter like 4 or 5. I don't know. It was real early, right? And the girl's like, "Do you love it?" And I was like, I'm gonna love it.
I'm gonna later, not right
I'm like,
Like-
it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, and like we knew that and I respect it. She did not want to go into Alchemized, and I think she didn't want to read Manacles because she didn't want to associate it with the original characters. I think, which I think that was what she said. I can't remember, but which I get. Like there are a lot of people that chose not to read Manacle because of that fact. So like but yeah, like I told, and I think even like we were at the lake and we were talking about it. I think even my brother-in-law Rob said that he like read the first chapter or something like that, and I'm like, you can't do that. You gotta keep
power through.
And then
And
I
actually,
was like,
honestly,
and the last sentence will just rip your heart out. And then Rob goes, the last sentence, because like the book is like.
I know, it's like,
I'm like, well, you're gonna like it before the last sentence. It's not like the last sentence. You're gonna be like, yeah, that's it.
I
think
can't
it
wait.
made
I want to
Manacle-
reread it so bad, but I'm gonna need a minute first.
Well, I think what made Manacle so powerful is that it was already built off of a relationship of Harry Potter. And
Well, and you
we
had all
grew
that.
up with those characters.
It
That
was
not
shocking
a-
that Draco would be.
Oh, I know.
You know,
Hermione and Draco, no. They lost. What?
like there's.
I think you had all that. You had the world was already there, right? So you kind of
and
like
we had the relationship. The relationship with these characters were already
the
there.
words
reminded
made
me-
sense. The spells made sense. The things
I
that were
was very
happening
shocked, honestly. At Sinlin U, like I was so impressed.
with how she
with-
shifted it out of that world.
Well, because I'm someone who's read Harry Potter multiple times, and
Same.
when I started reading Manacled, it literally felt like I was reading Harry Potter, but if things had happened differently, like
Yeah.
Right.
like she had it down, like like you could tell that the research was there, like for that, like everything was done very beautifully. And so I was very impressed by that. And I was very interested going into Alchemized how she was going to build an entire new magic system. And lordy dee did she do it. I mean, she did. I mean,
yeah.
it was like, I mean, it's tough. Like, it's, but the
Yeah.
story is still a beautiful enough thing to stick with it. But the book we are reading is Night Prince.
So yeah,
And-
we will be back next week, and we will be doing the final episode of The Night Prince. We do have 5 weeks in July, so we will have our special episode at the end of the month with a very special guest. We will be having Jerry Beardman Reads joining us, who's starting his
Charlie.
He is starting his own podcast. So we will be talking all things podcasty, all things books. He is a huge lover of indie authors. So we will be talking indie authors, and we're just super excited. He's also going to be a special guest at our event, the Equinox Chapter 2. So we will be talking some event stuff and things like that. So we hope you will join us and our chat with him as well. So we're looking forward to that. But we'll see everybody next week for the last of The Night Prince. Bye.